Hey, here we go. Another playing session. Another good session. Been running really well in the last week or so. Hope to keep it going. Um, say most of the wins today came from having big hands and good spots, getting an in pre and holding. So nothing really to work on strategy wise there. Um, have about 19 hands to go through, and most of it's pretty standard, I think. As of tomorrow, I will start selecting hands down a bit, so we focus on maybe 5 or 6 instead of trying to get through all 20 and never really getting to the end. Um, I'll just try and skip through having to check every hand's rating on the wizard, um, just because some of these things just don't matter that much, I don't think. But in any case, it's all about learning. Continue to have the same intentions and really do well with the vocalizing as playing, but tried to sort of have in mind value tiers and my bluffing tiers, and then bluff catching uh, categories. It's the frail versus value beaters versus the ABC bluff catchers. And I think we made a couple of those, which we could talk about when we get there. Open, standard open, big blind versus button. Not a great flop for our range, although somewhat nutted, I suppose. Tens and eights, which probably aren't in theirs, but fours are. 10-8 and 10-4 would be in theirs much more than mine. 8-4 is in theirs as well, suited. Hand is kind of a low medium equity hand, so tier lower than tier 4. Not really sure it's worth putting into a bluff at this point. Certainly not a range C bet. We need to polar, and I don't think this hand is bad enough to use as a polar hand, so probably checking. King comes good for us. I think now if they check to us, we have enough of a range advantage here that we can start putting bets in. We would probably want to polar this hand, although, yeah, and I think they would be condensed enough with 2 checks to allow us to do that. So we actually go for a half pot bet, which they call when the 4 comes. Now I feel like we have a tiny bit of showdown value, but the 4 really helps them more than it helps us. They've got a lot more advantage than us. If we were to bet here, we would probably need to polar bet, and the hands that would do that are the obvious value hands. Bluff wise, I think we want to unblock the king for calls, and we want to unblock big cards, big tens probably. We do unblock tens, but we don't completely unblock kings, although ace king likely isn't calling a button open. And queen is, so we, I think, just showdown with an ace high hand, because it's mostly other ace X's that we're trying to get folds from, but this is the worst of those. So maybe actually it is a bet. Maybe it is a bet. And if it is, it probably should be 3/4 to pot. But we checked and they had 10-7. So definitely within target range. And potentially could get a fold if we had gone bigger. Having said that we're not going to check GTO, we're going to now check GTO. Continuing to have kind of higher EV loss, average EV loss than I'd like to see in most sessions. Ace 2 off. Kind of thinking probably, actually, yeah, we're not anywhere even remotely. We don't even open it. Isn't that interesting? I hate opening ace 2, so I'm happy not to open it. Not in opening range. I'm good with that. Ace is open, get a call, get 2 players, middle position, good board for us, but we're in middle position, so I'm generally checking here, and facing small bets, I will probably look to call or raise. So there is a small and then another call, and I think now we have a great spot to squeeze, get some value from King X hands, fold to a re-raise, and create a bit of denial for draws. So we raise, and they call a raise, and the king comes, not great for us. Well, it is in theory great for our range, but not great for a calling range, particularly with less or just over 1 SPR behind there. So I think we want to check the turn here if it's checked to us. Protect our aces a little bit, protect a checking range with some good overpair. And then once the queen comes and they check again, I certainly could put in a bet here. The problem is, what's the size? The size is basically all in, and we could get ourselves into trouble by only getting calls from a King X. But how many King X's are here on the river that didn't push themselves? So I think they're severely capped for their value. And we may be able to get calls from a bunch of queens, potentially middle pairs, maybe. Probably not a great player if he's playing half stack. But in the end, I think I just decided to check behind him. Might have missed some value there. That hand wasn't calling anything, but I think overall that range probably wants to put in a bet with a very good hand. But yeah, so again, oh, this isn't going to work because of the multi-way. So I'm going to just say this is okay. And river probably wants to put 1 bet in, as they would likely shove King X on river. OP. I mean, they'd slow play King Queen for sure, and we could run into it. Is there a small size here? All to shove? Likely not. But shove might select out only King X. Crummy King X, crummy King X. That doesn't. That river. Not sure. If I was to do anything, it would be review that hand with the multi-way solves. I do have that. Something very close to that. King 7-2, which is close enough. I think I might have it as a flush draw as well. So might be worth looking at that in the future. We'll ISO, get a call. We're in position with a good ace. We'll bet this flop. Get a call. Flops probably, returns likely better. It's funny how often I say likely better for them and not for me. I think I need more work deciding whether a turn is favorable for us or not. So a lot of ace-6 to pair 5-6, 4-6, 6-5, ace-5, ace-4, all better hands, all in their range. 7-8 is also in their range. Granted, I have all those aces as well. I have aces, so they don't have. But I think we share all the sets as well. So nut advantage is not on us. So if we do put a bet in, it's going to be a small bet, or it should be a small bet probably, because this particular hand is not part of our polar range. I don't think it's probably right at the bottom edge of the polar range. possibly. So I feel like a small bet is likely a better investment here. Stacks don't do too much, not too much worry about SPR at this point. I think I did do a bigger bet though, and we got a fold. So I want to check and see if there's a mix of large and small bets. Generally, I've not been. I've been trying to play these turns a little simpler. Yeah. So it's all checks all the way, for sure. There's not even big bets. So there's no polar point in this bet, in this node. The things that we pull are much more probably suited around or centered around these small cards, which yeah, we have some there, and yeah, about the two pairs. King, 10, 9. These kings getting these to fold, assuming they're in their range. Ace king does bet. Ace jack is like on that. I was right. It was right on the cusp of a bet. You can see a slight amount of bets from ace queen. So ace jack is just under the threshold line of top pair bets right here. So the big ones, tiny bit of these smaller ones, and then it's on that second tier. So tier 3. Because we get called with the big bet, and we are sweating it. We're getting called by a lot of really strong value, maybe even better aces. But there is no small size bets, so that's good to know. It is a very polar position. So at least our bet size choice was right. We were just slightly outside of the portion of range we can use. So this is, I'm going to say this is good. And turn, we are 1 pip down as a down into tier 3. Tier 3. This combo checks check back range. Ace queen has more polar and ace king lots. So instincts actually were quite strong there. I was bouncing around between a small bet or a big bet, and elected for the big bet, but could certainly have just decided to check. But also good to know no small bets. It is a polar spot. Nine's open, defended. Flop a house. It's always helpful. Generally, probably sharing some advantage on this board. Not favorable to us. We're so strong. We have no denial needs. We do have some urgency, though, with a very small pot and a monster. So I think in this case, I probably would bet this and maybe should, considering how small the pot is and the urgency that we have to try and get the stack in. But there's also a lot of checking going on this board. So this certainly is part of our polar. We could overbet this. We could bet pot. And I'd elected to check just because it was so strong and to try and induce a little bit. We do check. We do induce an overbet. Decide to call the overbet. So now we're at almost 30, 21. So we're still quite a ways away. 6 comes, kind of killing an action, right? Like, if anything, we wish we would see a 6 club, not the 6 diamond. And even that, not so great. We want to see a club there. We want them to make a flush. We want them to, well, they got lots of trip 8s, lots of trip 6s. When they check to us, we now have to overbet, which we do, and they call. So luckily we had a call, and likely with a set of 8s probably, or trip 8s, trip 6s. Ace 10. Oh yeah, bluff catch. Nice. Is that a good bluff catch? They block a flush draw. It's a terrible bluff catch. It's terrible. You want me to have that ace club. You don't want to have it. I don't know. There's nothing I can say to think that that's a good move there. Bad bluff catch on 899-866 with ace 10 on busted flush draw board with the key bluffing ace club, busted draw club. All right, so we got lucky there. They decided to bluff catch. We could have probably been a little bigger even maybe, and they would have been even more suspicious of our BS. The check on the flop helped a lot. Not a great run out for us at all. So this range is terrible. This board is terrible for our range, but great for this particular part of our polar range, obviously. Beaten by 8s, beaten by 6s for quads, but maybe 6s show up there. So if we get shoved, we're insta-calling. There's no folds here. And yeah, so that was okay. That worked. It's a blunder on their end, which transferred EDV to us, I think. I think bluff catching is wise, but I'm not sure that's the right hand to be bluff catching with. I guess they say we block some 10-8, 9-8 with a 10 maybe, since having blocking 10-9 somehow. Block it straight with a 10, so a little bit. But I don't know what's straight overbets this river. Seems a little crazy, but maybe. Let's just look at the machine and see what they think of its their bluff catch. What bluff catchers would we expect to see there? 9s. And I guess I would imagine this thing wants a small bet. Oh, even bigger. So yeah. Oh no, a little bit smaller. Not that much smaller though. Better EV in the mid of the down there, 68 to try and induce a raise, I guess. Check the flop. More bets than checks. This is fine. Also, interestingly, small bets. Hey, I wouldn't have thought that. I guess because the board's paired, so we might not need to be in polar range there. We actually do have maybe more range bets than I think. Call the turn. When they overbet, we could raise the turn as well. Slightly better EV to raise. In this case, we would have gotten a fold, which we're appreciating this better. And then, yeah, the bet size on the river was just a little too big, which sort of surprises me. It seems like we're so polarized, we want to go crazy there. Let's find out what their bluff catching hands are. Definitely not ace 10. Well, it's not as big an EV loss as I would have thought. I want to bluff catch with. Oh, there is an ace 10. Not the right combo though. Oh yeah. Having the busted flush draw, they call with that. I would have thought we would not call with a busted flush draw because we would then likely be blocking bluffs. Interesting. King Jack will call again with a busted flush draw. Is it just because that's all the cards that they would have there? Oh, I'm not getting this exactly right. So there is some frequency of calls with ace clubs as well. Nope, not understanding that. Not understanding that at all. Ace 7. Club cards. Lower EV calls ace club 7 diamond. What am I not seeing? We're bluff catching with an ace high hand. The bluffs are going to be represented in sure cards that coordinate with 8s and 9s and 6s. So a 7 makes sense. But why with a club? Is it just that we would never use that a busted ace club as a big bet? Oh no, we're definitely using those to bluff. Right, there's ace there, there's aces there. Doesn't make sense. If they're in our bluffing range, why are we using them to bluff catch on the other side? We don't want to hold those. We don't want to hold anything but those. Yeah, I don't know. Probably a review question. Solver has ace club calls as bluff catch, but it doesn't make any sense to me. This line, especially as we are using ace club X hands to bluff with for this size. Confusing. X open, get a call from button. Good showdown value hand, no heart, no point in betting, definitely calling even to a large size. 8s come, they check. We now put a bet in, which is a bad bet. I don't think that's a wise spot because we get a call from a queen, of course. And I don't even think I need to look there. It just doesn't make any sense. I remember at the time making it thinking, oh, that was bad. No reason to make this bet. To narrow a target zone. Okay, so that's a blunder. Now let's actually call that what it is. Blunder. So we made one today. It's the first one in a bit. And then I look here and the machine actually puts a bet out. Is it a blocker? I think, yeah, maybe I was thinking blocker size. Yeah, it is a blocker. So maybe that isn't necessarily so bad. Okay, so it's not a blunder. It's actually exactly what it wants us to do. Low EV is a little lower than the bigger bet, but not having any bets on that river is a huge mistake. And checking the flop is fine-ish. Do have bets there at some portion of the time. Calling is the right. Turn. So they bet, we call. We actually could lead that 8. Interesting. So playing that as a bluff. Bet small on turn. They check behind and we do want another bet on the river. So this is not a blunder. I'm just not. It's actually a good hand. Turns out Silver does want a bet 100% of the time. This is a good size. Good block. Assuming this opponent will call 10x and other medium pocket pairs and other bluff catchers. And also look at the numbers, right? Not a particularly good player. Free hands though. He's floor open, followed by a cutoff, I think. Oh, the button. Another kind of not great opening hand, an open PFR friendly board, but we'll peel one, pick up a flush draw. We'll certainly call again now with a flush draw, and then we'll raise instead. I don't think this raise is worth it. I think we can just call and try and get our equity in place and see a nice hearted river or an ace. Jack doesn't really help us that much. Repping a 10-9, which we have in range, but hand gets blown away if they shove, and kind of blows, right? So size is not good. Their size is fine. Ours is, there's no point. I guess I look at a 75 VPIP, but again, only 4 hands. Same guy, I think. I don't like this. So I'm going to say not good. Not great combo to raise with. Let's use maybe Queen X. Flush draws. 10x. Flush draws. Block straights. Unblock. And they're not going to fold. Oh, better ace flush if they don't if we don't have it. Block straights though. Maybe a 5-6 heart. Even like 7-8, or no, say 8-9 heart. We hate life, and they shove. Their size is not really worth attacking. Overly aggressive. Aggro with a draw, so a strong draw. It's 4. Misplayed in a pretty big way. So we raise open, fine, check, fine, just fold on the flop, it says. When we get to the turn, we lead and we raise freshly more, much more. So the raise size is a problem. We call a lot, we raise a little bit, we raise a lot more. So, okay, so it's not a complete accuracy, it's sort of more of an okay. So for once, much bigger raise with this combo. Or just call. I don't totally understand the fold on the flop though. What size? It's not, I guess it's like B50. Maybe. I don't know. If there's 2 back doors, better to do it with like a 5-6. Let's see. Which backdoor draws do we call with there? 5-6. Yeah, those ones. Actually, they have more raises too. In the spade versions. Okay, interesting. So hearts don't peel, spades raise or call, and the paired of everything calls. but these backdoors fold. 10-8, I was saying Jack 9, I was saying maybe I was labeling some hands. Yeah, the 7-6s, all of that. Interesting. Okay. So then when we get here, turn that. That's interesting how many leads we have. None in this thing. So the spade versions will raise. And 5 will raise. Okay, this one does me in a little bit, so we just don't peel. Not worth peeling with ace 4 heart, but it seems weird. Maybe because range is so linear and bet size is 50. Anyway, I think this is one of those cases where being too solver oriented probably is not wise. Let's just play a little simpler and see some equity on the river. Don't point in. I mean, I've been trying to sort of increase my check raising frequency a little bit, so it's not a bad instinct. I just think maybe this particular combo, even though in theory we're supposed to fold it, doesn't make a lot of sense to me why we would fold this. Like, what are we continuing with? Continuing with all cards that. Wait, where are we here? They bet. Range betting too. So we'll continue obviously with draws, the spade flush draws. And those are pairs, spade flush draws. Maybe because we have so many spade flush draws, we don't need to continue with also these heart flush draws. I could see that being the case, that we're over calling if we call all those combos as well. And those, we don't have to call those ones. We certainly don't have to call those ones. And we need to call all of this stuff around there. And the gut shots. And a bunch of, see, I would way rather use, those are indifferent calls and folds. So yeah, the spade calls, spades call, even the jack spade calls. Jack is more of a backdoor than, oh, it's indifferent actually, it's bluffing. Calls. Yeah, so those are indifferent. The queen with spades calls, and this is the king. I could see that. All the ace kings are calling. except for completely whiffing ones like any heart either way. I don't know. It feels like I'd rather call this than that, but I guess because we have these overcard draws as well, makes them more valuable. Ace King of Hearts does call, Ace Queen of Hearts calls, Ace Jack of Hearts just barely calls, Ace 10 of Hearts is now indifferent. So having the overcards make it swing it. Okay, I sort of understand now a little better. So on flop, having overcards to board like Queen, King, Jack, Hearts, swings, EV, two calls of backdoor flush draws, but with the 4, even, yeah, it's too far off. With the 4x or ace 4, we only have one overcard draw as well. So that makes continuing not worth it. Ace 4. Where are we? Let's get that. Ace 4. So it's like -2. It's a slight EV loss, but enough. It's enough. -3-5, -2, I guess, because we're backdooring 5-6 as well into a straight potentially. Ace 5 we use as a raise, not ace 4. It's interesting. Ace 5 hearts is indiff to raise / fold because backdoor straight draw as well. 4 has but it's bottom end. 4 is bottom of backdoor straight draw, as 5. 5 would be bottom as well if 9-8 came out, or 9-10-9. Yeah. No, 6-8, 6-9. 5-6, yeah. So, yeah, okay. So it's kind of an edgy little spot, I guess, for the flop. By the turn, we're going to continue, of course. But, and then on the river, so we raise, they check us, and then we hit up pair of 4s, which now we think we have some showdown value on. But they take a pot with 9s. So I think in the end, let's just call these turns, uses smaller flushes to do it, uses bluffs. Yeah. It's a weird hand. It'd be worth looking at a little longer. It's an open, 2 pair, bet our king, bet our range. Flush comes, protect checking range, get duplicated. See a bet, probably should call, but I don't know. I mean, what do we have? We have what do we have? We have 9s and 3s. And they have any better pair and king better and flush better. I think so this would be a bluff catcher. What bluff catch is very does it beat any value? Well, for a small bet size, probably. What value does it beat? No pocket pairs. Pure bluff, so no value beats. So it only beats like ace x club bluffs. It beats Broadway bluffs. Yeah, it's pure bluff catcher. It does unblock Broadway bluffs. It unblocks ace-x bluffs. It unblocks any club bluffs. Probably better to just fold pre. Fold pre. Cat C bluff catcher. Board is unfavorable. Well, flush draws. We have both of those. We would have betted on the turn. What happened on the turn again? Yeah, we would have bet that flush on the turn, so we don't have a lot of flushes here, whereas they do. And they have condensed around some kings, small kings. King 9 is certainly in their range more. Well, it's in ours as well. It's just a range bet on the flop. Fold. So middle pairs. Broadways, clubby Broadways. Yeah, I think when we check the turn, we really don't have any flush draws to or flushes to use as bluff catchers. Don't feel as confident today with my analysis as I do some days. 2, 3, 3, 2. Let's just fold. Just fold. Just call it a fold and say that's where the mistake was. The rest of this is sort of quibbling about what we should do with a 2-pair. Range it. Flush comes in. It's now bluff catching. 9 comes in. It's now even more demoted. I think it's probably a fine fold, except the size is a crying call size. This means they don't have a lot of bluffs in that size, but there's just so little value that we beat that would use that size. Seems so king heavy. It's a fine fold. I need open, get re-raised, decide to defend. I think that's a fine call. We hit a middle 9, which is fine. We'll continue to call to a small c-bet. Strip up, over bet, fold, standard play. King Jack, re-raise, get a call, top pair, c-bet, small, out of position, get a call, go for a polar bet, get a fold. World favorability. Is that us or them? I think this is pretty thin in terms of having polar range. I think ace jack would be better to polar with this. I think, but I don't think it's terrible. Certainly polarized with over pairs. And we certainly polarize with jack 10 and jacks and 10s, and we polar 9-8, and we polar a lot of spades. So maybe we're over betting here and not having enough in our checking line. Check call. And this possibly a queen jack and yeah, actually it's probably one of our worst jacks. Jack 9 I don't think I used to 3-bet to the cutoff from small blind. Jack 10 I do, but obviously that's better. So queen jack maybe, queen jack suited, probably. Queen jack suited and king jack suited. Those are our worst 2 jacks. So this is actually probably better to be a, what we'll call this is okay, but turn. Turn wants, I think, range needs some protection. And this is one of our 2 worst top pair hands in this formation. Lots other value to bet with. Better to check call. No urgency. And no need to increase pot with. So I think that was a mistake. Let's confirm. Even if it's not here, I still think that that read is probably smarter or smart. Yeah, still wrong size. If anything, small size. Polaring the turn just doesn't make a lot of sense. B50, B33. So there are bets. There are bets in solve, but mostly B33, say. So I don't really use a B50, B33. That's much more sense. But I like check. Here. Yeah, all small bets, very few big bets. Top pair, yes. Do have quite a few bets. Jack 10. Jack 10 is not a top pair hand. It's a 2 pair hand. Why is it saying top pair? Jack 10. Yeah, what am I reading wrong? Jack 9 I don't have. Queen Jack I have. King Jack I have. What's going on here? Repair top pair. Okay, so that's broken. The second pairs are betting though. Small. And they're betting small. I guess since they have polar hand, they re-raise. They don't have a lot of 4s likely. Polar's shared. Our range is much stronger overall, so that's why we would use that smaller bet. Much more of the time, we do have quite a lot of betting. So the polarization was the problem, not the betting. Yeah. We have a much stronger range overall. Polar is theirs, so we should bet small. Actually, polar is shared. Polar is shared with a bit of bigger bets, but not this. But not this. Okay, king 4. Kind of a weird open. Get a call from small blind. Not helpful. Board. King high is the nuts until it's bet. Then we fold. Queen 6. Let's raise. No. Raise. I remember doing this in the moment, thinking, oh, I'm going to hate myself later for not raising. So we don't, and we hit a queen. Which is good, except it's flush, but now I think we put in a small bet to go call from worse, and I don't think we're folding much better, but ace 6, bunch of limps will raise, they both call, so not great, not an awesome board for the raising range either. We do now hit a straight and get called, board pairs, and now we face a half pot bet. I elected to fold, but this is probably a river call. I think we're probably indifferent. Should probably call with a relatively good hand. Relatively good BC. 7x could bet this. 9-8 could bet this. On flushed boards. That was what swayed me to folding, is like, really, like, is there any other value? Is there? I guess 7x would be the only one that might bet this size on the river, potentially, considering we checked them, so implying we don't have a flush. But we did bet the turn into two people. So we should be quite strong there, and we certainly would check flushes to a paired board a good portion of the time, so they should be very cautious about putting any bets in without something like small flush draws, flushes, and all kinds of houses and all kinds of other things that kill us. But I couldn't think of what bluffs one they would use that would call turn. Maybe queen jack. Maybe maybe a pair of fives, maybe, unlikely. Pair of nines, 10-9, possibly. Could be used here as a bluff. Anyway. It's okay, yeah, I did say. Queen 8, again, define the range, top pair, put in a bit of a bet, get called. 10 comes, we check, better for them, they check as well. Last card is a flush, and I don't see any reason to bet here. This doesn't make a lot of sense, it's sort of a blocker, but just check call. Check call. No point in betting here. For what? Value? No. Bluff? No. Flush came in. And board is paired. Just bluff. Or showdown. Yeah. Not, I guess, is the limpy Lucy range that makes me think, oh well, maybe nines will call, or I'll get some call from something weird. But better to just no point. There's nothing there that really helps us that much. This just ends up getting checked down. Showdown value. Jack. Got nothing really on this board. When the bet comes, we fold. 10-9. So this is a raising hand, which we do, which is good. Get a fold. Good. And heads up. Nothing really exciting on this board. Try to bluff with a queen high. Get called by king high. Fives. Kind of a nothing board for us. Check and bluff catch the river. And pay off a jack. Queen jack. Top pair. We can bet a small portion, a small amount. So yeah, about 3/4. Get called. Check this thingy, whatever it is, the river in a hand, and that's that. So yeah, I don't think it's actually turned out to be super great play. There's a few mistakes in there and a couple spots of just kind of weird decisions. So in future, let's try and take away a little bit more board awareness on rivers. Let's try and again constantly trying to put ourselves in our range, be aware of where we are. Why are we putting a bet in with top pair, medium kicker on a flush paired board? There's, there's just be know what the hand that we have needs to do relative to the range we're playing, right? Not every hand needs to put bets in unless we're in such a favorable world. Then we can, of course, because we got lots of bluffs that we're also betting, so the value needs to come along, and vice versa. But yeah. Anyway, we lucked out to a certain extent. I think didn't really face any major aggression. Big big win because of pre-flop decisions and just getting into lucky spots. And yeah, I mean that's the day. So we'll take a win and we'll keep on playing and continuing to improve.